Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures, and I have something I need to talk to you about, and that is the distinct lack of mechanized infantry in my collection. I don't have any. I don't have much in the way of armor or tanks or anything of that sort. I've just never been a big fan, and I've printed a bunch for my brother, who has painted some. I will admit he has done some, and I was complaining, as I'm often wont to do, about a lack of other things to paint and build, and he's like, why don't you build a tank? So you know what? I decided to get a tank. I had been looking at Ace Mini stuff. Now, they have a ton of tanks, but everything was so big, and I just have like a random assortment of different troop types here. Primarily, this tank that I'm about to show you, I was thinking of using it with some of Gomic's, like, totally not-looking Vestroyan type dudes. But I bring to you the Siegfried. Look at this little thing. I love it. I absolutely love it. It is so what I had in mind for some small-scale skirmish stuff. And just the quality of the parts, quality of how everything goes together, I was quite impressed. So to me, it was just like a nice little, support vehicle. There is the turret with a bunch of different optional weapon bits. I printed off a couple autocannon, like heavy bolter type. Extra side weapons for the hard points on the edges. The rear door. Vents. Antenna. Oh, and one of the cool things is a lot of the Ace vehicles are already pre-supported at 6mm. I thought that was totally cool. I would love to do like an epic style game with a bunch of tiny little vehicles like that. Fun stuff. So you can see it's, for what it is now, I would say, for marine purposes, yeah, that probably isn't the best fit. For basic human types, even the Gomic guys, I think are going to give it a run for the money in terms of size. Stuff like Stargrave or a Wargames Atlantic figure, I think this thing's going to work out perfectly. But I just, for something like 5 parsecs where you're running around exploring stuff, it seemed like a perfect little tabletop fit. Oh, you know who needs something like this? At least until we get some space Russians. Bulldogs. But I wanted to paint it in red. I don't know. So give me a second. I'm going to get it all put together here. Not that it's going to take very long, but I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully we'll get it painted up in the relatively near future. But let's see how it turns out. Sit tight. Doot doot. I don't know why, but I feel like I'm playing with like Thomas the Tank Engine toys. I don't know. But I love the sheer impracticality of this little sucker. It hits all the right buttons for me. It's like, look, he's like little fishy smiley face, like his eyes there. He's like, I'm gonna do it. The little tank that could. I didn't actually glue on the turret yet. It fits nice and snug. Glued everything else on. One of the reasons is I'm debating, do I want to actually stick a magnet in there or put some sort of a pin using like a piece of iron rod, brass rod or something, so that I can actually have the turret rotate. And, even just slipping it up on top here, come on, it was like nice and perfect and stable. It's pretty snug in there as it is, so if you wanted to just leave it like that, so you can actually have that turret rotate, whatever armament you choose. There is also a recon version that I did not print. I don't remember if I mentioned that. But where this seam is on the body, it actually opens up in the back. So you have still the crew compartment is enclosed, but there's spots to stick models up on top. Now granted, most models that are on a minimum 20+ mm sized base, you're not going to be fitting a whole lot back there. So something to keep in mind. Now, I still feel like it's a little too big for a Marine to be trolling around in. But, stuff like cannon fodder, like we said, I think is a great choice. But after building it, my first thought was this is great for the Traderans from Shadows of Brimstone. Now, these are admittedly board game plastic figures, and I wanted them done, so they're not the greatest paint jobs. But I feel like they work perfect, and they have like the Shikari guys, I believe they were called, the nomad hunters looking for Darkstone users to mercilessly hunt down within the Shadows of Brimstone game world. And again, this is just like if you ever want a modern styled Warhammer quest, like old school Warhammer quest with lots of rolling, lots of tables, lots of randomness, lots of enemies, I don't think you can go wrong with that. And the fact that we are actually getting rules for Traderan tanks to be on the battlefield in the middle of the board game as you loot and scoot your way across the maps. I think that's a really cool touch. And it just has such a fun look to it. Heck, maybe you count it as its own, member of a 5 Parsec squad or Stargrave stuff. I'm sure as more and more skirmish games come out that have more varied rules, there will be lots of uses for things like this. I sadly do not have any squats at the moment that my brother has painted. Gave them all back to him, unfortunately. I'm curious how that would look, but they're like way more high-tech looking than this. So I think if you wanted to go with that nice diesel punk, steampunk look, I think it would work for something like that. Smaller size figures, I think this is going to be a really good looking, kit. Do they have absolutely gigantic, massive, bigger versions? You betcha. So if you haven't had a chance, you should take a look at Ace Mini stuff. If you're a tank offy condo, there's a lot to like there. Personally, I dig the squatness of this little guy. It is perfect. But then it started making me think of the old Dragon Quest slime games with Slime Morty Morty with the tanks of the various Dragon Quest characters. I don't know, now am I going to have a slime commandeered one? Only time will tell. I still have no idea what colors I'm going to paint this. So hopefully check back. I'm sure this will show up on a Monday video on this channel at some point or another. It's just too goofy to pass up. And I've been painting up the Blaster Master inspired tank from Crucible of Games as well. So maybe we'll get them done about the same time and we'll just have the start of our nice little mobilized infantry. You check that out. They could be best friends. I love you. I love you too. I don't know what I'm doing here. All right, that's a good cue for me to stop. We're going to push you out of the way, and we'll put a link down below to Ace Mini stuff if you guys want to take a look for any of their tanks. So with that said, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.